Hi, my name is Edgar Sanchez. I'm a senior software architect at SpearmanTech. This is the fourth video in a series intended to show the features of SpearmanTech License Vault. In this video, we will look at the example projects included in the License Vault installation. This video assumes that you have Microsoft Visual Studio 2008 as the example projects were created for this version. So let's get started. First, locate the SpearmanTech License Vault installation folder. Depending on where you put it, it could be in programs, in your program's 64-bit folder, or in an x86 folder, depending on whether you're running on Windows Vista, a 64-bit version of Windows, be it Windows Vista 64-bit or Windows XP 64-bit. Basically, the 64-bit operating system split program files, so you'll want to find the program files x86 if you're running in the 64-bit OS, and then look for the SpearmanTech folder and look for License Vault, and then you'll see examples. And we're going to go ahead and go into License Vault Test Client. Alright, we have two projects that make up part of the License Vault examples, and we opened up License Vault Test Client project, which comes along with the License Vault test integration project. So both of these are test projects. The purpose of these two projects is to show you how simple it is to include the libraries that come with License Vault in your programs, and how to run key validation, and how to take a look at all the keys through the integration client that you've created in License Vault. So let's go ahead and take a look first at the License Vault Test Client, which is using the License Vault client for validation. And we've created a simple form in here that lets you fill in the key, and then by pressing any of these buttons, you can use the functions that come as part of the License Vault client DLL. So let's look at the code behind. Alright, as you can see, first off, I set some space here, an integer for the delimiter. We've got the License Vault client, and you see that it's not being accepted, as if the DLL was not included. So let's take a look real quick to see what's going on in the references. And as suspected, the two DLLs are mislinked. It's easy to fix this. You just remove them and then add them in from your install directory. When you first get going with the examples, it's looking for the DLLs as they were located on the developer's machine, but they're output to the same folder as the build for Test Vault, for License Vault Test Client. So you can just go and bring them in again. Let's do that. And you see we have License Vault Client, and then we have the COM libraries. So let's go ahead and add those two. There we go. And once we switch to COM lib and License Vault Client, you can then see that it's now accepting the client. Let's do the same thing for the integration client, since we know it's gonna have the same problem. Alright, let's switch back to the other project. Okay. All right. So after we've created a license vault client object and the license store object, we then declare that we're going to also use this GUID for this product. So you can store the GUID in your application, but be careful when you are distributing your program, because you know you can reverse engineer very easily in .NET by use of any kind of reflecting software that will allow people to see this string. So you might want to encrypt your DLLs before you ship them out. But if you do that and you encrypt your DLLs, you'll be passing in this information through License Vault, which is using encrypted technology. So if you encrypt your product, you'll be safe because our DLLs are encrypted. Okay. Next, you see the form has a standard initialize component function, and then we go ahead and initialize the license store object, license vault client object that we declared up here. And the first thing we do is we create a license store. So license store, the purpose behind the license store object is to be able to store licenses that you've retrieved from License Vault locally. So it's a facility that we created to allow you to store these licenses in an encrypted way on your computer. The exact place where these are stored is in your machine.config file, which is standard install of .NET 2.0 and above. So if you installed .NET 2.0 or later, you would find there's a machine.config file on the computer. And so this any customer of yours that's going to use License Vault within an application you wrote would need to have at least .NET 2.0 or above in order to use the license store, because the license store uses the machine.config file. In some cases, a machine.config file could become corrupted. It's been my experience that can happen because of faulty software, other software you're running at the time, some Windows failures at times. So if that happens, you can always just uninstall the .NET framework and reinstall it, and it'll overwrite. It'll create a new machine.config file for you, and you can use it. That some of the bugs that we tested for were the possibility of the machine.config file becoming corrupted. So that is a fix that seems to work for that. So if you want to use our license store object, just keep in mind that it does save licenses to the machine.config file. Alright, next thing you'll look at is the first if statement that we run. We say, well, is validation required? Is valid required is a function of license store, which lets you test the licenses within to see if any kind of validation exists. The next thing that happens is we create a new client, license vault client, and it goes and all you need to do is provide it the IP where your host is. In the previous video, we saw that I was using 192.168.1.102 for the database, but the service was running locally. So we can go ahead and just write localhost there, and we can leave 8800 as the port. This is because the service is running on this local machine.